podcast. I'm the gentleman, accompanied by the disturbed Southern Belle.
Hello.
And in this episode, we will be continuing the Cryptids by State series with South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. Starting off with South Dakota, we have the Badlands Banshee. Located in an area that is described as hell with the fires out, the Badlands Banshee is supposedly either the victim of a red man's jealousy that haunts the area called the Watchdog, or it may be the spirit of an Indian woman who was killed in the area. No matter what the origin of the specter is said to have cries that will chill the blood of anyone that hears them. The ghostly figure of the Banshee is often seen on a hill just south of the Watchdog. She is described as a woman with her hair blowing, even if there's no breeze, and that she is throwing and tossing her arms around, making odd gestures.
That's weird. What is she gesturing? I mean, that makes you think, is she trying to tell them something? Maybe some way she can't speak?
It makes sense.
Well, maybe.
So, she's said to have appeared before war parties, cowboys, hunters, or anyone that is traveling through the area, either for good or ill. She is said to sweep into their campsite, standing before them as if wanting to speak or as if wanting to ask a question. However, if anyone asks what she wants, she is said to then shriek so loudly that it can be heard for miles, and then she'll just disappear. She said to appear on the hilltop she frequents, and is said to now be seen wringing her hands as if filled with sorrow or worry. It's also said that cattle will not graze near the area and that must avoid it if at all possible.
Well, I guess so. Good God.
Yeah, fair enough. I imagine I would too.
I don't really think I want to see that.
So she's also said to sometimes have a companion that is described as a skeleton that wanders around the ash and clay of the area, haunting nearby campsites in search of music, of all things.
That's odd.
If music is heard by the skeleton, it's said to sit down and nod its head in time with it. It's also said that if it finds a violin within reach, it will eagerly grab it and play for half the night. If you happen to be present when this happens, it's said that you are not to follow the skeleton if it rises and starts to move away, for if it will lead you into one of the rocky pitfalls nearby, where escape is all but impossible. And while you are trapped, it will then play music that is said to intoxicate, madden, and then finally charm the soul from your body.
Oh, God, that's creepy. It really is.
So, first, I wonder if it plays well.
I don't know.
Like, genuinely well.
I don't know.
It said that it'll sit down and play for a while.
All right, but ugh.
If so, I'm kind of interested in hearing that.
Yeah, I don't know if you are or not.
I mean, all I have to do is just not follow it. It's not like it charms you to follow it.
I guess not.
The story just tells you not to follow
Right.
it. So it's really, if you do end up its victim, it's pretty much your own fault.
It sounds like it, yeah.
Oh, wait, really interesting one. Because of music.
Right.
So next, we're moving on to Tennessee with Old Green Eyes. This ghoul-like cryptid is reporting to have been sighted among the corpses of the American Civil War after one such battle as the Battle of Chickamauga, which was fought between September 19th and the 20th of 1863 near Snodgrass Hill on the Tennessee-Georgia border,
right?
Which was deemed the second bloodiest battle of the war, only second to the Battle of Gettysburg, in which there were more than 7,000 deaths and over 33,000 wounded, along with the deaths of 6 Confederate and 5 Union generals.
Right. I know that was one of the reasons it was considered the most bloodiest, was because of that, all those generals dying, which was unusual.
Yeah. So, the horrendous actions that had happened at the Battle of Chickamauga are said to have attracted a creature of great malice, as if it had been drawn to the horrors that took place on the battlefield.
That's creepy, too.
While the creature is claimed to have roamed the lands long before the Civil War took place, it is also reported to have been witnessed moving among the corpses that were lying there, and it was described as having green, glowing eyes with a humanoid appearance, a huge deformed jaw from which large and terrifying fangs are said to protrude.
Okay.
And visitors of the Chickamauga National Park are still reporting encounters with this odd green-eyed cryptid. In the 1970s, there were two different and unrelated people that claimed to have had accidents near the same location in the park, both of which drove their cars off the road, crashing them, after they had reported seeing a pair of green glowing eyes.
Well, that doesn't seem like enough just to make you crash, unless it was
No.
directly in front of you or something, and
And
you
you
just
just
swerved,
swerved
right.
to try to avoid it.
But if you just saw it on the side of the road, now that seems kind of, well, I guess maybe unless you were just looking and not paying attention and maybe drove off, accidentally ran off the road or something. Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's creepy anyway.
it is, very much so. Although one of the most well-known encounters comes from Edward Tiny, or Tinny, who was a park ranger at the time. During an interview that took place in 1981, he described an incident in which he claims he was walking through the park sometime in 1976 at approximately 4 a.m. when he was overcome by an unexplainable chill that rushed over his body. The next second, he says he saw a green-eyed being stepping out of the darkness.
Well, that's what you want to see there.
Oh, absolutely.
A being. I don't want to see any just what I would describe as beings, because...
No.
But anyway, go ahead.
So, he describes the encounter by saying, "When it passed me, I could see its hair was long like a woman's. The eyes, I'll never forget the eyes. They were glaring, almost greenish in color, flashing like some sort of wild animal. The teeth were long and pointed like fangs, and I didn't know whether to run or scream or what. Then the headlights of an approaching car came blazing through the fog, and the thing disappeared right in front of me."
Oh,
So, very creepy.
yeah, to say the least. That is very creepy.
So there's some to believe that this creature may be the spirit of a long-dead warrior, while others think that it's just random ghoul, which is a demon-like humanoid creature that is known to rob graves in order to feast on the flesh of the
Right.
dead.
Exactly.
Although there have been many reports of the creature actually eating a person, whether dead or alive, we will likely never know if the creature actually existed or was simply a folk tale that allowed scared imaginations to bring it to life.
Well, I mean, any of that's probably, probably just but it's still creepy just to imagine it,
Oh,
period.
absolutely.
Even a ghoul-like thing, like on a battlefield, going through the court, I don't care what it's doing, it's just creepy to think of.
So, moving on, we're going to Texas with a rather well-known one, the black-eyed children.
Ooh, I know these. These are creepy.
Oh, yeah. So, while this odd cryptid has not only been reported in Texas, the legend of these eerie children with soulless eyes is said to have originated from 1998 postings. They were written by Texas reporter Brian Bethel to those that were on a ghost-related mailing list.
Mm-hmm.
They told of supposed encounters with black-eyed kids in Abilene, Texas, and Portland, Oregon. Whether a clever creepypasta or just an urban legend, these children are not ones you want to encounter.
No, not from what I've heard.
So, they're often described as being very pale and having almost corpse-like skin. However, as you can imagine, their most distinctive feature is their eyes. They are said to be completely black with no white or colored part whatsoever. Most of the children seen are said to be approximately 6 to 16 years old. They normally approach those that are alone and normally at night, though there have been reports of encountering them in broad daylight. They're said to speak in a dull, monotone voice, and their behavior feels unnerving.
Right.
There are some that say that they have type of psychic ability that allows them to fill their victims' heads with fear and dread. Most say that they feel an almost overwhelming desire to protect the children or to help them and comply with their requests. Mostly, their requests are fairly mundane, such as just going up to someone parked in a car and asking them to use their phone or for a ride home.
Right.
They will then repeatedly ask for permission to enter your car or home, as they are also known to knock on doors
Right.
late at night.
Exactly.
It's also said that the children will often try to isolate their victims, making them the only ones that can see or hear them. Those that have actually allowed the children into their homes or cars have reported then experiencing a bout of bad luck, which ranges from your car breaking down or suddenly being diagnosed with a terrible disease.
Yeah, that sounds like wonderful things.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard all kinds of stuff, supposedly happening. I don't know, but they're creepy.
Yeah, definitely one of the more
They
creepy
are.
ones. And definitely
I think it's
probably.
also because it's a child.
Yeah, for some reason, children just always seem to make things so much worse.
They are. I don't know. It's just something sort of creepy when there's kids involved. I don't
Yeah.
know, but
But not great either way. Just this whole creature, these creatures, the
right.
creepypastas, everything I've read has been absolutely awful.
It is. It's not a good stories. Let's say they're not happy times to be had anytime. No.
So, as for encounters, there was Brian Bethel. Bethel describes the encounter with two children aged what he guessed as being 12 and 9. He says he was sitting in his car when two boys approached him. They were dressed in hooded sweatshirts, and he claims that both had corpse-like pale skin. One had curly hair, and the other had red hair and freckles. He says he then lowered his car window a bit to see what the boys wanted, and they asked if they could get a ride to their mother's house so that they could get money to watch the new Mortal Kombat movie. Bethel says that he was filled with a sense of dread as the kids spoke to him, which, to be fair,
Right.
kids 12 and 9 are not meant to watch Mortal Kombat.
Well, maybe not, but okay.
Now, personally,
You did,
I
but
did,
yeah,
but it is not a movie for kids.
not necessarily. No.
Anyways, aside from the joke, Bethel says that he was filled with dread, and he pointed to the theater nearby and told the boys that the movie had already started and they wouldn't make it back in time to see the movie if he gave them a ride. The boys then began to get more aggressive, pressing him and insisting that he let them into his car because they were just kids. He says that their insistence began to freak him out, but it then only got worse when he finally looked into their eyes. He described them as big, round, black, soulless orbs with no white showing.
I don't know. The
That is
black eyes
disturbing.
things, even seeing it in movies, it is creepy looking. It is
Yeah.
very creepy looking, that just complete black eyeball.
Very much so.
Mhm.
He says that he then began to drive away, but the kids started hitting his car windows, saying, "We can't come unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in." He claims that he quickly drove away, and when he looked into his rear view, the boys had vanished.
That's creepy too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that does happen. Like they'll say they're there and then they're just gone. And it's creepy. Now, sometimes I've heard of people saying they've seen them walking away and different things. But yeah, that just disappearing mess, that's creepy to me.
Oh, yeah. So next is Keith W. Keith describes an evening in which he was mowing his lawn. While working, he noticed that some flowers had been trampled in the yard, and the next day he says he saw two unfamiliar kids around 14 and 15 that were walking down the road, but he just ignored them and didn't approach them at the time. However, later that night, there was an unusual power outage when he heard a knock at the front door. He claims that he went to the door where he looked out at the peephole where he saw something that terrified him. On his front porch was two boys with pitch black eyes standing there. He claims the boys demanded that he let them in, saying that they needed to use his phone. He says he offered to bring the phone to them, but they insisted on coming inside and continued to bang on the door. He claims their banging and distorted screaming continued for several minutes before he finally got a shotgun and headed out the back door, hoping to get the drop on the boys, so to speak. After sneaking around the side of the house at the front, although once he reached the
Front of the house, right?
he found that the boys had completely disappeared.
Ugh, another one that disappeared. Well, at least he had a weapon. I mean, at the very least, he didn't just run out there like a dummy, like some of these people seem to do. But ugh.
So, last is Deanna M. While visiting her mother in Amarillo, Deanna describes an encounter with the black-eyed kids. She says that one evening after her mother had turned to bed, she had heard a loud, persistent knocking at the door. She then went to the door where she found two teenagers, one of which she believed to be around 14 and the other to be around 16. They asked if they could use the phone, claiming that they had been left in the area by their parents. Deanna says that she felt a strong urge to let them in, despite feeling completely terrified at the time. She then noticed that the teens had completely black eyes, and she quickly shut the door. She claims the kids remained on the porch, continuously knocking. She then called the police, however, they were not able to find anything suspicious. The encounter left Deanna feeling deeply unsettled and questions if others had encountered these frightening kids. So, yeah,
I don't know.
once again, very creepy.
It is very creepy. Now, I don't know whether anyone has actually saw anything like this, or maybe it's just kids messing around with contacts or something, trying to scare people.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like the whole killer clown thing that was going on, at that one time and stuff. I don't know, but there's been a lot of people who've said they've seen them, and it's just creepy, just the story. Whether it's just completely made up or not, it's still a very creepy and cool story.
This whole thing, the black-eyed kids, whenever I hear about it or read about it, I think of Children of the Corn.
I do that, and it also makes me think vampire or something because they're going to be asked to let in, kind of thing.
That's a very weird stipulation.
It is, but that's something that's always been said about vampires. They have to be, well, depending on the telling, but it's well known anyway that they have to be, let in. You have to give them permission and yada yada, which makes no sense to me either. But
it does not.
Yeah, so that makes you think something like that, maybe, but I don't know.
Anyways, there's never been any actual proof of these encounters. However, there have been numerous reported sightings. There are some that have even claimed that they have witnessed the children leaving. Some have said that they simply walked away into the night, while others claim that they have seen them getting into black cars with black windows. Some have even said that they have seen them meeting up with what appears to be adults that were hiding in the shadows near homes. Which very much leads to, it's just a prank, bro.
Yeah, I don't know it could be. In some cases, I'm sure there's probably been people who's probably done something like this as a prank, and some people have probably maybe had some encounters with it, because, why not? It's late at night, somebody's knocking on your door, and it's a weird kid with black eyes. Yeah, that'd be a little creepy, so yeah. No thanks. I don't think I'd open the door, but maybe that's me.
Absolutely not. But that's going to be it for this episode. Let us know what you thought in the comments, and I'll turn it over to Belle so she can tell you about hers.
We'll be continuing on with some more cryptids by state. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and don't forget to stay disturbed.